We are live, brother.
Folks, what is up? And welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. Austin, I am back on the Vol Talk podcast after a little
Yeah.
bit of a hiatus. Unfortunately, Austin, it's been kind of like I think about a month, brother, maybe even more since I've been able to be on an episode with you. So very unfortunate, but Austin, fortunately, I am back. And we are back. We are here, Austin, to talk all things volunteer sports. And brother, we do in fact have a pretty packed show for the good folks at home today because we got every single sport, brother, every single sport to talk about. And Austin, today in the world of live sports, we have a two-sport doubleheader in basketball playing Virginia tonight to possibly advance to the Sweet 16, and then a rubber match for the baseball Vols against Missouri, brother.
Yeah, jam-packed day of all sports. It's kind of been like that. Excuse me, the last few weekends here. There might even be a softball game on as well. Sorry for not knowing that, but yeah, it's a jam-packed day. Obviously, huge game for. I think it's actually two pretty big games, but especially for men's basketball, obviously, to stay alive in March Madness. Been pretty exciting March so far, although it's kind of been chalk, man. We'll kind of probably talk about that a little bit later. Not a lot of upsets at all, and we kind of killed a very popular Cinderella. So excited to talk about that. And then baseball, another, I think, a pretty critical game, man. Another rubber match, two in a row now, and last week's was absolutely heartbreaking. We actually haven't talked about that on the show, so I might touch on that a little bit later. In baseball, and then maybe even talk a little football, a little spring practice. Spring practice opened back up. Excited to talk a little football as well. Some clips coming out of practice. Getting to see Faizon for the first time. Getting to see Tristan Keys for the first time. There's some clips surfacing around him. We might be able to show one on the show. TBD on that. But yeah, man, jam-packed show today.
We are still learning the ropes of producing the show in addition to actually doing the show. Maybe one day, Austin, we'll have a producer on the show for us. But yeah, like you said, man, we got a lot of good stuff to get into today. I'm excited to be back to talk about all things volunteer sports with you, brother. It has been too long, so I'm looking forward to it. And like you said, we there's a lot of interesting conversations to have today, a lot of important conversations to have today. So we're looking forward to it, folks. We hope you are as well. And look, if you love Vol Sports, then give us a like. It's the freest, easiest thing to do. Smack that like button on the video, whether you're watching live or if you're watching the show after the fact. And then, of course, if you are joining us live, join the conversation. We love to talk to you guys. So jump in the chat, let us know what you think. And if you're watching after the fact, or if you're listening on Spotify, drop us a comment and let us know what you think about the Vols and their chances to make it, to the Sweet 16 and maybe even, beyond. And then, of course, let us know what you think so far on your first impressions with Gmac and Faizon. And as Austin said, this Tristan Keys clip that we're going to get into here in a little bit. So love to know everyone's thoughts. But Austin, without further ado, we got to get into this basketball stuff first and foremost. That is the headliner for today's live show. We've got our men's basketball Vols. They, like you said, they beat a kind of an upstart Cinderella team, Miami of Ohio.
Yep.
Austin, if I'm not mistaken, Miami of Ohio was either the top offense in the country or one of the top offenses in the country, just averaging an insane amount of points per game, and we were able to hold them to the mid 50s, and got a big win on them by 20 plus points. So that was a great win, and now we've got Virginia, Austin, which we're going to preview after we review this Miami game here in a little bit. But on paper, you just told me before we started the show, we're slight favorites against Virginia. So all of a sudden, Austin, our men's basketball team, not looking too shabby.
Yeah, we are the odds-on favorite to win the Virginia game. Now, of course, it's like 1.5 points, so we'll see.
Right.
So yeah, you just never know in March, obviously. But yeah, so the Miami, Ohio thing is interesting, dude, because there was a big debate. Should Miami, Ohio even be in the tournament? which was kind of insane to me. I was on the side of, okay, a team that has a 31-0 start, I believe, to the regular season. They literally finished the regular season undefeated, but lost in their or their conference tournament, excuse me, not the championship. Um, that team should make it. I mean, I don't really care what their schedule is. If you win 30 plus basketball games, especially in a row, and you just don't take a single loss, that team should make a 64 team tournament, Blake. Like, we can't find a spot for that team in a 64 team tournament. That's kind of insane. So then they got the 11 seed where you had to basically, you're the last four in, so you have to play the play-in game, and they beat SMU in the play-in game, and they had a lot of momentum. I felt like, man, they played really well against SMU. And there were so many people, a lot of fans, a lot of analysts. I mean, there was the host of the halftime show of the Miami, Ohio, Tennessee game, Blake, was openly rooting for Miami, Ohio, openly. And this is not a guy that went to Miami, Ohio. He was just openly rooting for them. There were a lot of people that felt like they had to defend Miami, Ohio. A lot of people that, like you said, were Cinderellas in their brackets. But the big bad Tennessee Vols went in there and just whipped their ass, dude. Let's be honest. They did 20 plus points. Wasn't close. I mean, it wasn't close whistle to whistle. I felt like it was a really bad matchup for Miami, Ohio, Blake. We just out physicaled them the whole time. The whole time. You could tell. I mean, there's a reason that there's people out there. And again, I disagree with these people, but there's a reason there were analysts out there saying they don't believe Miami, Ohio should be in the tournament. And the reason is because they didn't have any hard competition, and the size difference was apparent, man. Like, the size and speed difference was apparent in the game. I was happy to beat them down, despite me being one of the people that, like, what are we doing? Of course they should be in the tournament. It was kind of funny. Like, I think the Vols, and especially our fan base, Blake, play the bad guy kind of well at times. And the fact that we got matched up against the obvious Cinderella story in Miami, Ohio, and immediately shot it down, it was kind of satisfying, dude, to be honest with you.
Hey, I'm all for it. I'll be the big bad villain any day of the week if it means the Vols are winning. I don't give a dang about your Cinderellas or anything like that. I agree with you. I mean, obviously, they should have been in the tournament. It shouldn't have been a question. But yeah, I don't care to be the villain. I just want the Vols to win. Austin, yeah, it was a great performance, from most of our players, but especially Jacoby Gillespie
off
on the back of 29 points. He went 11 for 21 field goals, and 6 of 11, Austin, for three-pointers from Jacoby Gillespie. So, and 10, and then, he had just a great day, kind of running the offense, kind of getting the ball kind of spread around. But surprisingly, Austin, no points from Nate Ament. And so that was now, look, you love to see Gillespie step up and just put this team on his back. But that was kind of surprising to me to see Nate Ament not have any points.
Yeah, and Gillespie had to step up because Ament is dealing with an injury right now. He's been hurt since the SEC tournament, and he's been kind of battling through that. After it looked like he had the big turnaround in the SEC tournament against Auburn, then he gets banged up, and it's like, and he's been nagging that injury, which actually even happened before the SEC tournament. So, yeah, man, dude, if you told me coming into the game where we had to play the darling of March Madness, if who should be our number one offensive option in Nate Ament has 0 points. I mean, come on, dude. Like, that screams upset. That screams Miami, Ohio wins the game. Yep. But like you said, Jacoby Gillespie just went off, dude. And it was really from the jump. You could tell he was just on fire. He was looking for the ball. And like you said, he added 9 assists to that. And dude, and Gillespie is great because, listen, he's not the most consistent offensive player. He's been our most consistent number 2 option. And there's games where Ament isn't playing well and he has to step up, but it's also his defense, man. It's also his defense. And I think the defense of our guards is what kind of shut down Miami, Ohio on offense. I mean, like you said, they're this crazy offensive team scoring a lot of 3-point shots, but Gillespie just kind of locked him down along with others. So yeah, I thought it was a really good performance overall, and hopefully a sign of things to come in this tournament, Blake. But I'm just the reason I'm concerned is because when this team, I mean, this literally happened in the SEC tournament with Blake. They have a really good outing against Auburn, and I'm like, and they showed a lot of grit in that game. They had to come back, and I'm like, dude, this is the turning point. Like, we finally gonna reach our potential, and then it just doesn't happen. Now on the flip side of that, how many more games, despite injury, is Nate Ament gonna have 0 points? Like, that's probably not gonna happen again. So that kind of makes me feel better from that standpoint. But we'll see, man. We play later today at 6 p.m. I'm kind of ready. I'm pretty hyped for the game. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, let's transition to the upcoming Virginia game. So again, like you said, we got a nice round one victory against Miami of Ohio. Your Tennessee Vols beat Miami of Ohio 78-56. A nice 22-point walloping on the back of Jacoby Gillespie. But now the question is, Austin, we've got the Virginia Cavaliers, and this is a team, Austin, that lost to the number one team in the country in Duke in the ACC tournament by only 4 points. By the way, it was 74-70 when Virginia lost to Duke in the ACC tournament. And so this is a solid Virginia team. However, I was thinking coming into this game, man, we actually have a shot against this Virginia team, especially if we can play like we did against Miami in round one. And apparently Vegas seems to agree barely by a point and a half. But Austin, we if this team can keep that performance up, then we've got a shot to be in the Sweet 16.
And I also found it interesting. You said Vegas is picking us to win the game. It's also kind of interesting, dude. And this is a very small sample of what I've seen online, but there's actually a lot of handicappers and a lot of just in general basketball analysts that like us in the game as well. Now that kind of worries me. It just in general, like it just doesn't sit. I don't think it impacts the game at all, but it doesn't sit right with me when we're the favorite and people think we're the favorite and like we're not expected to win, obviously, because if you just look at it on paper and you're talking to someone that's a very casual basketball fan, it's a 3 versus a 6 and we're the 6. So, from that perspective, it would be an upset. But on reality, on paper, I don't think people feel that way. I actually think people think that Tennessee should win the game. And out of the other 3 seeds we could have played, I actually think we got a pretty good matchup. And I don't want to look too far down the line, but I actually think our potentially next matchup would be interesting as well. Obviously, potentially Kentucky if they can beat Iowa State. But I like the matchup against Iowa State if that happens. So, but yeah, man, I don't know. I'm kind of done predicting what this basketball team will do. To be
Yeah.
completely honest with you, I have no
Yeah.
idea. I've kept up with it with most of the year. I'll be honest. I haven't been like insanely locked in on the team the whole time, like watching every single second of every single game. But from what I have watched, man, it's a lot of inconsistency. And the problem is, Blake, as you know, this has kind of always been the case with Rick Barnes led teams. If the first offensive option and then especially the second offensive option, which is Gillespie, if they don't go off, then we're not going to produce a lot of offense. Like if Gillespie's not shooting threes, like we just saw that he can, and if Nate Ament is still has that nagging injury and he just can't make a huge impact, then dude, I mean, where are we getting the offensive production from? I don't know is the answer. I really don't know. Which is kind of unfortunate, but yeah, man, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see tonight at 6 p.m.
Yeah, exactly. 6:10 Eastern time, I believe, is tip off of this game. So, unfortunately, Austin, I will be dead asleep in the middle of the night. But I'm sure, like usual, I will wake up very early in the morning to the tail end of the game, and hopefully, I'm pleased to see the current score when I wake up. But like you said, at the end of the day, it comes down to can this team stay consistent? Can we get some offensive production? because that's been the story of this season, right? Is can we produce those points, and can we finish the game as well, especially if it goes down pretty late in the second half. Got to be able to finish the game. That was our problem against Kentucky during the regular season, and several teams not being able to put away games, especially when we had big leads. So we're going to hope that our basketball Vols can do that against Virginia, the Virginia Cavaliers, folks. Like Austin said, tonight at 6 p.m. And Austin will get to baseball here in a little bit, but shortly after that tip-off will be the Missouri rubber match for our baseball Vols that will be going as well. So definitely going to be a jam-packed night of volunteer sports. And so
I think the baseball
looking
game
forward
is
to it.
on now, or no, on in an hour. I think it tips off at, or not tips off at, first pitch is at 1 p.m. I thought, unless they pushed it back.
Let's see here. I had 7 p.m., but maybe
I think that was
that was
yesterday's
a
game.
different game. Gotcha. That was yesterday's game. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes, you're right. Yeah, 1 p.m. So please excuse me. The baseball game should be done then, hopefully by the basketball game. But nevertheless, Austin's still a jam-packed day of volunteer sports. So hopefully we can get to the baseball section before the game kicks off here in just about 50 minutes. But Austin, before we do that, we got to stick with the basketball theme first. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is not going to be an easy conversation, folks. This is going to be a very tough conversation. And I don't even know where I stand yet, Austin. So you might be able to sway me one way or another if you've got your mind made up. But folks, we got to talk about Kim Caldwell. Okay. Kim Caldwell was looking like a great hire. Year one, had some great wins.
Yep.
Were able to upset Connecticut and Gino, Austin in year one. Fantastic. Look, that is, if there's any measure of success as the Lady Vols head basketball coach, it starts with beating Connecticut, right? I mean, it's got to. And so that was looking like a great sign last year. It was looking like we were on a great trajectory. We were on the up and up. But then this year, Austin, something happened, and it seems to possibly be some sort of culture situation where
Absolutely.
the wheels are just starting to come off. And Austin, I've been again, obviously, I'm halfway across the world. I'm sometimes I'm not able to keep up with everything as much as I would like to. And so I didn't even realize, Austin, until you told me that the Lady Vols had their worst winning percentage ever.
It was
this year.
It was an absolute monumental collapse at the end of the year, Blake. And it really, I think it started with getting annihilated by Carolina around there, or maybe even giving up that, not the lead, but giving up the tie at halftime to UConn. Remember, we were following that game live, Blake. Remember, in the spread pre-game versus UConn this year was them winning by 30. And then we saw on Vol Talk Live that we're tied. I'm like, well, shoot, we're covering that spread easily. No, we didn't. They ended up outscoring us by 30 plus in the second half. It was a terrible collapse at the end of the year for Kim Caldwell and the Lady Vols. And what you said, a couple things you said. One, I didn't realize it was the worst winning percentage in the history of Lady Vols basketball either. Until I looked it up. I'm starting to go through the history, and I'm like, wait a second. I'm not seeing any 16 game or 16 win seasons, which is what we won this year. And the last one was in the 70s when Pat Summitt was first hired, but there was less games back then. And so it is literally the worst winning percentage in the history of the program. And remember, when we went through these old coaches, it wasn't because we couldn't make the tournament. We're on like the longest tournament streak in women's basketball history at the moment. We were looking for someone that could get over the hump, that could get over the Sweet 16 hump. And like you said, Blake, you laid it out perfectly, man. Kim Caldwell was super promising year one, not only for the success that she had on the court, but remember, Blake, in the offseason, she recruited extremely well.
Yeah.
The best recruiting that we've had in ages for Lady Vols hoops. So then you would say, well, the recruiting got better, so then the results on the court should get better. But it got way worse. It got way worse. And I totally agree with the assessment that it was a culture issue, man. I mean, she literally had a player step down before March Madness even happened. This was a
Yeah.
veteran player on the team. She literally stepped down from the team and quit on the team. And there will be some, I'm sure there will be some people to blame players. And I get it. I mean, listen, I think there's a couple things, Blake. And this is kind of a whole other NIL conversation with this. Um, my thing is you kind of have to expect your play when you're bringing in a recruit and you're taking pictures with them next to Lamborghinis and then like like all this crazy attire and whatnot, like you kind of got to expect that person to be a hired gun. Like if they're coming
Yeah.
here because
Yeah.
you're showing them oh, look at all the beautiful trophies and we're going to put you in a throne and we're taking pictures with Lamborghini, like that's a hired gun. I mean, if that's why they're here, then that's what it is. So don't be surprised when they quit on you. That's one thing. However, you also, from the other perspective, you also have to look at it as this is the head coach. So it is your responsibility to manage, first of all, manage the roster. You pick who comes in.
Yeah.
And you have to manage those personalities. You have to. You're the head coach. And as I've been saying the last few weeks, man, that whole mentality of I'm going to coach you super hard and I'm going to rip on you in press conferences because you're not trying hard enough. That's great when you're winning basketball games. It's funny when Nick Saban is truing out AJ McCarron on the sidelines when they're up by 40. It's not funny when you're on an 8-game winning streak,
Right.
or 8-game losing streak. It's
Losing
not
streak,
funny
right.
when you've lost 8 games in a row. That's not funny anymore. You look like a clown. You look like a complete clown. At some point, we're looking at you and we're saying, when are you going to take responsibility? You keep talking about how bad your players are playing. When are you going to come in and say, oh, part of this is on me?
Exactly. As a leader, you have to take responsibility, right? Your team has to see you taking that responsibility, and you also have, like, tough love is great, but that's what made Pat Summitt so great. Austin, is she had the tough love, but her players knew that ultimately she had their back and she wanted the best for them, always, right? And they were winning. Exactly to your point.
And they could trust
Well,
her as a coach.
they could trust. They could trust her, and so if you're losing and your coach is just railing on you and is not showing you that she cares and she's doing that because she wants what's best for you and all of that, then it's tough. And so, as Backflip Spaghetti, shout out to Backflip here in the chat, he's saying the mutiny seems obvious, right? And mutiny being the players kind of having a mutiny against their coach, and it seems that way for sure. And he has a theory, Austin, and honestly, I might be buying into this theory. He says, go back to the end of the Ole Miss game where it was very highly publicized, her poor sportsmanship with the Ole Miss coach.
Yep.
And I don't know exactly. I do know that game got delayed, right? Because of the weather. There was winter weather. And so that game got delayed. And so I don't know what I don't know in terms of why she acted that way. But his theory, Backflip's theory, is that the players kind of took that to heart or took that personally. Maybe so. And that kind of goes in line with what you're saying with the South Carolina game, because that was right around the same time. And there seems to have been a shift from there. And so, Austin, so okay, we've got this culture situation, right, where it seems like there's this player mutiny going on. It seems like Kim Caldwell, and look, I'm all for a tough coach. I want a tough coach.
Yeah.
But if you don't have your players, and especially in this NIL era, unfortunately, you're hitting the nail on the head when it comes to being hired guns. Unfortunately, it's the era that we live in. These players, especially I think women's basketball players, get the pictures with Lambos and stuff. They're there for the money, right? Now, I would prefer to be back in the Pat Summit era, where Pat Summit is molding these young women into being great basketball players and great young women and all of this. That's a whole
The
nother
good old
tangent for a whole nother
days.
day. The good old days. But Austin, where we're at right now is we're in a place where if you as a coach, if you don't have your players under control, and if you don't have them bought into you personally, then you've got a big issue. So the question is, Austin, can she win them back, and can where do we go from here?
And dude, she recently admitted in the postseason press conference that she lost her players this year. It's year two. You lost
Yeah,
your
not
players in
good.
year two. It's not good at all, man. And yeah, man, you're 100% right about all the NIL stuff, and it is a whole nother conversation. But at the end of the day, you have to adapt. You have to adapt. And your players aren't going to buy in when y'all suck. Y'all are
Yeah,
terrible. So you can no one's gonna buy into that, man. Bill Belichick, the Bill Belichick way, would have never worked if they didn't have 6 championships. It would have
yeah.
never worked, dude. It just wouldn't. People would think, "Oh, this guy's a clown. I'm not gonna take this tough coaching when we're terrible. I'm not gonna do that." And Kim Caldwell here, when Pat Summit does it, it's like, "Well, yeah, she's the greatest basketball coach ever." When Kim Caldwell does, who the hell are you, Kim Caldwell? Like, what? I mean, come on, man. You haven't done nothing. You haven't done nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have Pat Summitt's stat. You don't have Nick Saban's stature. You don't have Bill Belichick's stat. Like, come on, man.
It's almost like you got to earn the respect, right? You have to earn
Yeah.
the respect. You have to, and it's a two-way street. And again, I firmly believe that players, should be open to tough coaching, but it has there's a leadership element where you have to be in a position where your players know that you are doing your best for them, that you're doing it for them, and that you are going to produce results. A recent example, Austin, is Kurt Signetti in Indiana, right?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a tough coach. He's a no nonsense kind of guy when it comes to coaching, right? No surprise, he comes from the Nick Saban coaching tree, but look, he just had probably the greatest season in college football history, most likely. I mean, if we're looking at all sorts of different metrics and all of that good stuff, and so I think you're hitting the nail on the head. You have to have the winning down pat first, and no pun intended. And you have to, there has to be that two-way street where, exactly like you said at the top of this segment, you as a coach have to take responsibility
Yep.
yourself as well. You have to take some of that as the leader of the program, and so ultimately, Austin, cutting down to brass tacks, where do you stand? Do you think we got to get rid of her right now? Or I think where I'm at right now is I think we give her one more season
Yeah.
to win this locker room back
I
and
think you
to
have to
get it
give her
back on
one.
track.
I think you have to give her one more, especially since I don't know. Here's the thing, dude. If you ask me that question, we're opening the Danny White can of worms again. I've been on this, man. It's
Yeah.
just listen, and this kind of ties back into what Batflip was saying again, the Ole Miss game, because that has nothing to do with your players. That's you and another coach, and you're showing a lack of sportsmanship to another coach. That has
Yeah.
nothing to do with your players quitting on you. That has nothing to do with the. And again, like you said, man, we don't know what we don't know. Whatever, we don't know what's behind the scenes. But dude, I don't care what's behind the scenes. Act like a professional for literally 5 seconds, Blake. We're asking you to shake her hand like a professional
Yep.
for 5 seconds. You can go home. You can rant to your husband about what. 5 seconds. Act like a professional when you're on live TV. And Blake, it comes down to the fact that it seems like, from an outsider's perspective, and when you look into it, we have a very impersonal, like a AD who he's not a people person, right? He's not a people guy who maybe
He's a business
hired,
guy.
who maybe hired a coach who's not a very good people person.
Yeah.
I mean, like, isn't it seems like that's where it's going. I mean, the AD didn't have a good relationship with a Tennessee baseball coach who literally took Tennessee baseball, who, by the way, was burning money every single year, burning money every year, and made it a profitable business. Okay, because he actually brought a winning culture to Tennessee baseball for a sustainable winning culture for the first time ever. For the first time ever.
Yeah.
Okay. That he didn't have a good relationship with that guy, who, by the way, is all about relationships. That's Tony V's thing. It's all about relationships. And I'm not saying that's the reason Tony left. I'm just tying it to, okay, wait a second. You didn't have a good relationship with a guy that it's pretty easy to have a good relationship with. And then you hired someone who can't show good sportsmanship for 5 seconds while on live national television and lost the locker room of their players in year number 2. In year number 2,
Not looking good.
you lost your, like, Butch Jones sold us used cars that don't drive for 4 years, Blake, before he finally lost the locker room, dude.
Before
Like,
the
come
wheels
on, man.
came off. Yeah.
Come on, man. And
Yeah.
you lost it in year 2. And it's like all these things are starting to not look great, dude. And I think
Look,
it's a reflection of our athletic director, dude.
Yeah, and I think the only coach to even come close to that is, or possibly beat that, is Jeremy Pruitt in terms of losing the locker room, and that's not good company to be in, by the way. So
it's not.
Not at all good company. Yeah, Backflip says used bricks. Butch Jones was selling us used bricks.
Oh yeah,
indeed.
true.
Brick by brick, but they were cracked bricks indeed. So, yeah, man, I think you're right. At the end of the day, I think you've got to, at this point, you kind of got to give her at least one more year to get the wheels back on. So we'll see. And that's, look, we keep saying this about Josh Heupel as well, Austin. The mark of a great coach is one who can change and improve over time, who doesn't stay stagnant, right?
Yep.
So this is a critical make or break moment for Kim Caldwell. And I think practically speaking, you're right. Danny White's not going to fire her after year 2.
No.
Because then
he made a mistake. And Blake, and just for the listeners, just so we're clear on what Danny White has done from a hiring perspective, which, by the way, from an outsider's perspective, is the biggest part of the athletic director's job, by the way. Now, from the Tennessee University perspective, it's the businessman in him, Blake. And they like when he raises ticket prices. They like when he builds entertainment districts. They like all that. However, from the fan perspective, what have you done so far? And I'll answer that question. You have hired Kim Caldwell and you have hired Josh Heupel. I don't even give him credit for Elander, because Elander was such an obvious slam dunk, like this is the predecessor to Tony Vitello. You can't even really give him credit for that hire if it works out. And that's still TBD, by the way. And listen, Heupel, I think overall, has been a net positive for sure. Kim Caldwell so far hasn't. When you've had literally the worst year in Lady Vols history, that is a net negative. So listen, that's Danny White's hiring resume. I mean, do I need to say more? It's interesting. Yeah. And remember, Blake, and you bring this up all the time, he hired his buddy in Heupel. That was a convenient thing for Danny White. Very convenient.
Bring him on over. Yes. Bring him on over from UCF. Yeah, exactly. So really, Austin, when you put it that way, Kim Caldwell is kind of the only major hire he's ever done, right, as the Tennessee athletic director, because he brought over Heupel from his previous job, and Elander was not hired by him. He was already on Tony V's staff, and then was just promoted. So very interesting indeed. Pragmatically speaking, yeah, I don't think we're going to see Danny White admit his error this early, but I'm fine with that. I think, you give Kim Caldwell the offseason to make it right, to win this locker room back, to reverse this mutiny, and then we'll go from there and we'll see. But I'll tell you this, brother, we can't follow up this worst season in Lady Vols history with either the same or, God forbid, worse. That's an immediate firing for me.
Yes.
So,
especially if she doesn't make the tournament. Come on now.
Yeah. Exactly. Backflip says, "Will Tony V end up back in Knoxville?" Hey, brother, look,
Dude.
that is a pipe dream and a fun conversation for another day, Austin. I think you and I could go on and on about Tony V. So
And he's got the Giants looking good in spring training, so I don't know. I wouldn't write him off as an MLB manager just yet. Unfortunately, if I had to predict, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Um, I yeah, I really wish I could know the behind the scenes of everything and like really get Tony to just be completely honest about the whole situation. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, well, I don't think so. If I had to predict, no.
Unfortunate, but probably the truth. But hey, we're going to talk about Josh Elander and the baseball Vols here in a little bit, Austin. But I know the good folks would love to talk about some football, so I think we're going to
Yes.
transition to spring practice now, folks. If you haven't already, please like the video. And of course, hit that sub button if you have not subscribed to the channel yet. We would really appreciate that as well. We appreciate Backflip Spaghetti in the chat, as well as Ryan in the chat here. And folks, if you're watching and you're feeling chatty, jump in the chat. We'd love to let you hear what your guys' thoughts are and also answer any questions that you might have. So. Uh, and Backflip says he's starting to get a little concerned with Elander. Yes, we'll talk about the baseball Vols here in just a little bit. But Austin, let's talk about spring practice, brother. We have got to talk about the early impressions from spring practice. We've got George McIntyre, we've got Faizon Brandon, locked in a QB battle for the ages, brother, and possibly going to determine this season for our football team and
Yeah.
possibly Josh Heupel's job. Okay, we you talked about that a little bit on the solo show, which by the way, folks, shout out to my brother for doing a solo show last week for you folks. Again, I've been unavailable for a little over a month now, or around about a month, I think, and so shout out to Austin for running a solo show for you guys last week. But Austin, you talked about the fact that Vegas has got us at 6.5 win over under win total.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
this QB battle very well could determine whether we're hitting anywhere near that win total, and possibly going to jeopardize Josh Heupel's job. And so we've got Faizon Brandon and George McIntyre, and then also Austin here in a little bit. We're going to take a look at, hopefully, if we can get the tech to work, Tristan Keys clip that we're going to discuss and have a little banter about. But Austin, first, hit us with your overall spring practice first impressions for the football team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my number one disclaimer would be don't look too much into spring practice reps. This was literally the first week I mean, I doubt they've even got to install yet. Actually installing and whatnot the playbook. And they're out there just practicing fundamentals, if I had to guess at the moment. One thing that stood out, quarterbacks. I think that's what everybody wants to know about because nobody knows who's going to be quarterback in 2026. I don't think McIntyre looks much bigger to me. A little concerning. I was hoping he would walk in and you could just tell the 20 pounds of muscle has already happened. Derek Owens and the strength and conditioning staff have a tall task when it comes to getting weight on Gmac. Faizon, however, Faison looks like he could play tomorrow, just from the size perspective, just from size. As far as the throwing motion and the footwork, all looks pretty good. All looks pretty good. Really though, it's so hard to evaluate quarterbacks. Like we know GMAC and we know Faison both have great arms. Like that's obvious. They were 5-star recruits both at one point. And we know they both have good size as far as height and whatnot. What I want to see is in-game reps, and this will probably really dive into that at the orange and white game. That'll be the first time we really get to see live situations. How are they handling the in between the years stuff, Blake? Because that's critical. It's so critical. I think that was the big difference between Aguilar and Nico.
Yep.
And what made Aguilar so much better. So that's what's gonna I think determine the QB battle. Because as we've noted so many times, GMAC has the leg up because he has the 1 year of experience and whatever. And listen, the weight. I know a lot of fans think it's gonna make or break the battle. I don't think it will. I really don't. I think they'll play Gmac at his weight. If he is clearly better than Faizon. I have no pulse on who they think right now. I don't think we will for
Yeah,
months. Another interesting note, though, Blake, about the quarterbacks. I don't know if you've heard Ryan Staub. Is that what we're calling him? Stobe? I can't remember
I
his
think
how
it's
to Stobe.
I think it's Stobe. Yeah,
Okay. So, anyway, Ryan, I'll call him Ryan by his first
yeah,
name, not to be mistaken with the Ryan in the chat, but Ryan, the quarterback from Colorado, he was in a press scrum and he basically said this is the
I'm
most
sorry,
he's been.
Staub.
Okay, Staub. Ryan Staub. He said it's the most he's been coached his entire college career. He basically, basically, seriously, and it wasn't even like kind of beaten out of him. He just like openly gave the information, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, this is the first time I've experienced like real coaching in my life." Essentially, is what he said. I don't think he was throwing shade either. He genuinely seemed really excited that Heupel was giving him so many pointers and whatnot. And I think, listen, I think that is an advantage that we have with Josh Heupel as our coach because he was an elite college football quarterback. I mean, he just was.
Exactly.
So when it comes, and I think that's why he's had no problems recruiting high level quarterbacks, or at least high level on paper quarterbacks. But yeah, so I think that's fascinating. That even I think Ryan Staub or whatever, I think he's probably not going to start. But Hype was even giving attention to the depth piece, potentially third string quarterback, which I find kind of fascinating.
Yeah, and that's to me the mark of a great coach. And so I like to see that from Josh Heupel. Now, of course, there's a lot of things that we've talked about that we need to see Heupel improve on, but I think in terms of coaching his quarterbacks and just I do think Heupel wants all of his players to succeed. And so, yeah, I saw a clip, and I think it was Staub that he was talking to, and Heupel was getting kind of detailed in
Yep.
his walk arounds during kind of open practice, and he's kind of getting detailed in the pointers that he was given Staub there. So about his footwork and things like that. So yeah, man. I mean, look, if we can get something out of Faizon or Gmac, then I think we're gonna do well. Backflip mentioned in the chat that the line has moved to 7.5 wins.
Ooh, interesting,
I,
interesting. I kind of expected that, to be
I,
honest, but
yeah, 6.5 was,
was
and you talked about that in the solo.
ridiculous. I
That's
mean,
just that's
dude,
just low.
people, I can't. And we had a couple people be like, "Oh, six makes sense." Here's the deal: I would love to see a single fan. Okay, a single fan. We have quite a few listeners on a weekly basis. Like, if we had a single fan come out and say, "I'm okay with Josh Heupel winning 6 games in year 6 of his tenure here," I would be interested to see that. I would just be fascinated to see if there's a literally a single fan that would be okay with that. And I don't really care about the 9 game schedule. Like, okay, 9 game schedule, that means okay, if you're gonna win 9 games, you win 8. Okay, fine. 6 wins, I don't care. I really don't care. You cannot win 6 games in year 6. And that's what FanDuel was presenting. Like, it's like, okay, it's either 7 or 6. And I kind of expected the line to move up because it just didn't make any sense to me. Like, and from an objective perspective too, like obviously I'm a Vol fan, and I'm not saying, oh yeah, we're going to be competing for a national championship next year. But 6 wins was just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I think absolutely ridiculous. Shout out to Backflip. Thanks for joining Backflip. We'll catch you later. And folks, Backflip's having to kind of cut out here. So real quick, I just want to say, if y'all ever do have to jump out of the live show, you can still watch the rest of the shows
Yep.
on our channel if you go under the channel and go under the live tab. So our live shows don't show under videos, they show under the live tab because they are live streams. Of course, we still create clips that'll be under videos, but yeah, you can find the rest of the show under the live tab if you want to come back later. But yeah, 6.5 I think was just way too low. Austin,
Agreed.
7.5 is a little bit more reasonable, but even still, I think that's pretty low. And
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. You know, if we're looking at 6 or even 7 games, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for me in year 6. But it really
Yep.
does, in a lot of ways, come down to what can we get out of our quarterback this year, Austin?
Correct.
What can we get out of whoever? And Backflip made a great point in the chat. You know, QB1 is going to be whoever can elevate the offense the most. And so it's to be determined on that. We're going to continue to keep a pulse on spring practice and, you know, kind of see the reports as they come out of who's looking good, who's, you know, possibly trying to set themselves or starting to set themselves apart. I have a feeling, Austin, that it'll probably be another situation where we're pretty close to the beginning of the season before
Yes.
we hear officially.
Yeah.
And honestly, Austin, I think in this case, it's going to be just the fact that I don't know if a guy is going to set himself apart until then, or even
I
if
agree.
anyone will set themselves apart
Well,
by then, because Faizon's a true freshman, brother.
yeah.
That's tough.
And he's going to develop so quickly. Like, that's the thing. When you're a true freshman and you're taking in the information, like, it really depends on his learning curve. Like, if he learns it
Yeah.
quick, then all of a sudden, well, yeah, month 1, he looked like he wasn't going to have a chance to start. But by month 2, he had all this new information and he picked it up quickly and he developed in the offense. Well, all of a sudden, the battle was a lot closer. I think last year, the battle was kind of dead on arrival. Like, you remember last year with the
Yeah.
reports, like Joey came in and all the players were like, wow, we've never seen this kind of leadership in our life. Like, this is completely new. Like, that was all the
Yeah.
reports. Everybody was saying that. And I was like, wow, that says a lot about the previous quarterback. But it also says Joey just immediately took over the locker room. I don't think it was ever really close last year. I think it was always obviously going to be Joey. This year, like you said, I mean, I think it's going to be a game time decision. Like, it really could come down to, like, we don't know, but until like maybe 1 or 2 weeks before literally game 1 of the season. I think it could be that close of a battle. And
And if it is Austin, I think the edge probably has to go to Gmac in that case, just because of the time that
Yeah.
he's had to learn the system. But I mean, who knows? I mean, if Faison's looking crisp like people, you know, think he is, then who knows?
Dude, and that's a good point. I think people have I think a lot of people have come to that conclusion because it's one of those things where it's like, well, for Faizon to start as a true freshman, okay, you have to really come in and impress. Like, you have to
Yeah.
show, wow, okay, like you have looked the part, your athleticism is so obvious. And yeah, and you have to pick it up quickly. I mean, and again, dude, it sucks because I wish we had more insider information so we could just kind of get a tip like, oh man, like he has an edge this week, or, you know, GMAC has the edge that week. I mean, that's from that perspective, we just have to look at reports out of practice because they give very little access to practice, which is understandable. I don't want them, you know, oh, here's our playbook and put that out to the world.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that. But at the same time, I'd like to know who the quarterback is.
Yeah, would like to have a little inkling. Maybe one day, Austin. Maybe one day we'll have some media passes. For now, though, folks, believe it or not, Austin and I do still have day jobs. And in fact, we do not make a penny from the Vol Talk podcast. We do it for the love of the game, baby, and the love of the Vols. In fact, we are negative. We are in the negative, Austin, for the podcast so far, because we have spent on some software, we have spent on some hardware, but we do it because we love it, and we hope that you all enjoy it just as much as we do. And we thank you all. If you're just joining us, we are talking about first impressions from spring practice, specifically with the quarterbacks. If you were here to see our basketball conversation, that was at the top of the show, so you were welcome to rewind the show and check out the basketball conversation. But Austin, we have the clip for Tristan Keys, and we're going to talk about it at the very least, and we can point people maybe on our Twitter or on our X account, I should say, to find the clip if we have technical difficulties. But folks, we're going to now talk about, so it's not just the quarterback, right, Austin? We've got a lot of new players on the team. Of course, I'm interested to see from spring practice how the defense progresses.
Yeah.
I think, that's going to kind of fly under the radar. But I think that's going to be a critical question coming into next season. But another question that has always been on people's minds is Tristan Keys. He is a highly touted wide receiver, and we were able to flip him from LSU, Austin. He decided to come to the true wide receiver university in Tennessee. And so Tristan Keys, but Austin, there has surfaced on social media a clip that has some people worried. Now, shout out to Backflip. He already left, but he said people need to kind of calm down on Tristan Keys.
Correct.
You and I are
correct.
both of you're both of the you and I are both of that mindset as well. But a little concerning, Austin, because you're saying that he's looking stiff.
I've got it here.
Slow.
Let's get it in.
Okay,
here. Let's get it in here. Straight from Twitter. I sent it to you before the show. So yeah, I will watch it a few times. Listen, this is the main one that had people concerned. To me, in this clip, he looks really stiff. He does. He looks stiff. Now he's a big bodied receiver. I will say, if I'm just looking at him, dude, he looks like he could play a game in the SEC next week. He looks the part, which is good. Now we'll also say this. He probably didn't have a very wide route tree in high school. He probably didn't, because when you're bigger than everyone else and you're faster than everyone else, it's one of those things, Blake, where you rely on those things. You rely on the speed. You rely on the size. So you don't really have to run routes that well. So there's going to be a lot of learning. There's going to be a lot of teaching tape. There's the clip y'all have seen about 50 million times at this point. But here's the thing, dude. It is one clip, okay? He did look stiff in it, though. I will say that. I think there's a middle ground. He looks stiff in the clip, and it's only one rep at the end of the day. Now, I will say there's other clips that came out, and he just generally looks slow at the moment. I'm not freaking out about it yet. People do need to calm down. It's literally first week of spring practice, but the route running looks kind of questionable at the moment.
And look, I'm in the camp, and we talked about this a little bit before the pod, and now we can get into it. But it is one very small clip. I think it is a complete nothing burger, if I'm being honest with you, brother. I think it's a complete nothing burger. Shout out to Matt SS in the chat. Matt says, hey, look, remember, Keys is also still banged up, and so maybe and that's what I said, Austin. I think he probably was told, hey, just take it slow.
Take it easy.
We're not trying to do anything crazy right now in spring practice. He's a true freshman. He's trying to learn the playbook. I think it's a big old fat nut burger, brother.
Listen, dude.
You're right. It's not like he's looking like the quickest guy in that clip. But I don't.
He's looking like an old man coming out of that break. Let's be honest. He is. He's looking like an old man coming out of that break, dude.
You're telling me he's looking as bad as I would look if I was trying to run that route?
Oh, no, not at all. No, let's not go that far. Let's not go that far, Blake. But dude, listen, and it's not just that clip. Now I could go through Twitter. We find some more clips. He's looking stiff right now, but I actually didn't realize he was still banged up. That's actually new information to me. I vaguely remember him getting hurt his senior year in high school. Listen, I don't start following these cats until they get on campus. I really don't give an F what you did in high school, to be honest with you, until you do it here. But I think Keys will be fine. One thing that does excite me, though, because let's say he is banged up still, and let's say, like you said, he was told, hey, just take it easy. We just want you to get out there, get loose, start to learn some of our concepts, get coached up on some fundamentals. Let's say all that's true. What I am excited about, if he does come back full speed and fully healthy, the dude looks like the dude's already, just from what I've seen, he might be the biggest receiver on the team. Dude, he looks huge. So plugging him into an offense with Mike Matthews and Staley, That's incredibly fascinating. Um, and who knows, with that kind of body type, maybe Heupel is able to even open up the playbook a little bit more, and add some things that we haven't to in the past. Because listen, Keys, man, I think the reason people are looking into it, Blake, is Keys is key, if you will, man. We haven't had a receiver and I know Mike Matthews was a 5-star in some portal, or not portal rankings, recruiting rankings. But Keys was like the number one guy for 24/7. Now I think On Three had Chris Henry as number one and Keys as maybe 2 or 3. Point being is Keys is like the best receiver prospect we've had in a long, long time. And we did a lot to get him. Like, we pushed
Yeah.
hard to get him. I mean, we literally covered
And Faizon
that.
did too.
Yes, yeah, Faizon did a lot of recruiting, and I think that's kind of a whole nother topic, but it's been an interesting strategy of Heupel that I think has kind of worked in recruiting, where he gets the quarterback early, and then the quarterback's able to
And then the
recruit the
quarterback
rest
does
of
it.
the
Yep.
class. It's a great
Yep.
point, dude. So yeah, he did do a lot of recruiting, and we were battling hard against LSU, and I think even Kiffin tried to come in at the end to flip him back. Didn't work. God, dude, I can't wait to play LSU. I hope we beat the brace off LSU, by the way. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. Point being is Keys needs to be good. I mean, we put a lot of investment into him. And I think Mike Matthews, he was really solid in the number 2 role last year. Like, having Chris Brazel there and Brazel breaking out, Mike Matthews looked really good in the number 2 role. So I'm wondering if that's just his better fit. Like, he's not meant
Yeah.
to be that alpha number 1 receiver. Well, if Keys can come in and be that immediately, which again, I've said this so many times on the show, Blake, that's not an impossibility. When we're talking about quarterback, yes, it's a little bit harder, or tackle in particular.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder to come in and play as a freshman. Receivers can come in and make an impact immediately, dude. Immediately.
We've seen true freshman receivers make an impact absolutely
Yes.
in today's game. So you're absolutely right. Another true freshman Austin receiver that we might keep an eye on. Matt is shouting out in the chat here, and Travis Smith
Yep.
Smith Jr.
Local
was
kid.
a 4-star. Local guy, and so will be interesting to see how he develops. I agree with Matt on that. But at the end of the day, Austin, with Tristan Keys, such a highly touted guy, you gotta get something.
You gotta hit.
You gotta
hit, dude.
You gotta hit. Got to.
You do.
Got to. So,
and we've had a lot of 5-star busts recently.
Yes, we have,
Yeah.
which is not a great track record to have. But so, point being is Tristan Keys, you can't be looking like that old man that you're looking like in this clip. You can't be looking like that on Saturdays. But again, folks, I am of the mind, Austin, that it's a complete nothing burger. I think it's literally, what was it, 6 seconds, 6-second clip.
6 seconds.
That probably was intentional as to why he was going that slow. And as Matt mentioned in the chat, maybe still banged up as well. So, but Austin, what's kind of to close out this section before we end with the baseball team? What you got any final thoughts just kind of on spring practice impressions thus far?
We don't have any news on the defense, but man, I hope they're better. I saw Chaz Coleman in orange. Looked good, looked big. Cannot wait to see that dude play. Gonna need him in a bad way, by the way. Yeah, man. That's why, again, I think my last thoughts on spring practice, kind of going back to last week's discussion. It's why 7.5 doesn't, or 7.5 and definitely 6.5 doesn't make a lot of sense to me, man. Like, it would take the quarterbacks just being complete buns, I think, for that to happen. But I don't know. Like, we've seen it in the past with Nico, so who knows? But I mean, we managed to win 10 games with that guy, so.
Yeah, I mean, if we can win 10 games with Nico, then by God, we could probably win 10 games with Ryan Staub. And by the way, Matt, shouts out
Ryan Staub in the chat.
Hey, well, yeah, maybe Ryan, my buddy Ryan in the chat here. I don't know if he's still with us.
You can win 10 games with Nico. You can win 10 games with anybody.
I'd say you could win 10 games with a toaster, buddy. Freaking toaster AI plugged into a robot body.
Can you believe UCLA voluntarily brought him back? That was mind blowing. You voluntarily brought him back after watching him play for a full season. That was insane.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe his dad's behind the scenes, paying the bill for for his NIL. Who knows? But folks, shout out to Rachel as well in the chat. My wife, Rachel, able to join us. Glad you're here, Rachel. And shout out to everyone again. Jump in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts are here. If you have any thoughts on spring practice thus far for the football team, we're going to be keeping a pulse on it as always. All things volunteer sports, we keep a pulse on here on the Vol Talk podcast. So definitely going to be keeping a pulse on the QB battle. And again, Austin, shout out to Matt in the chat, saying, hey, he heard that Staub was looking pretty consistent. And so who knows, maybe a dark horse QB and Ryan Staub ends up.
Maybe, man. Maybe.
Who knows? Whoever gives us the best chance to win more than 7.5 games, that's all I freaking care about, brother.
Please.
that is
don't want to watch a 7-win football team, please.
Yeah, exactly. And Matt says that he thinks we're going to run the ball more this year with that veteran O line and a good veteran running back stable. Yeah, exactly. That's what we did with Nico, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So yeah, exactly. I mean, thank goodness Dylan Sampson existed, dude. Oh my lord. Lord. That would have been a bad season if he didn't, huh?
Could have been a rough season if we didn't have old Dylan Sampson. Miss that guy. Folks, we're going to now transition to the last section of the show. Again, if you're just joining us, if you're looking for the basketball discussion, you can rewind to the beginning of the show or rewatch the episode after the fact, after we in the live stream here. You can find the live shows on our channel under the live tab. And so definitely go back and watch the basketball discussion, I should say, as well as the discussion on Kim Caldwell. We had an interesting discussion on Kim. So go back and check that out. But now, Austin, it's time to close out with the baseball team, brother.
Well, let's do it.
We have got Josh Elander and the baseball Vols are looking to win this series against Missouri. Austin, if I'm not mistaken, it'll be our first series win of SEC play because we just started SEC play, right?
Yep.
Against Georgia. Man, you mentioned at the top of the show, brother, what a heartbreaker that was. We hadn't really talked about that yet on the show, so maybe we'll start with that and we'll talk about this Missouri series. For actually, Austin, the Missouri game is actually the rubber match is about to start here in a few minutes, so we'll try to wrap up here for you folks so we can hand you out. We'll do a warm handoff here to the baseball game. But brother, let's talk about the Georgia series. Man, what a heartbreaker that was. And Georgia is looking like a great team this year. They're top 10 in the country.
Yes.
And barely missed winning that series. Talk us through that.
That was brutal, man. I was asking the chat on the solo show for some updates of the game, and nobody was really giving any whatever. I get in there and I see, wow, we got I think we had like a 5-run lead, a 4-run lead. It was looking really good. Well, we ended up blowing it. It was the top of the ninth. Okay. We had a guy on, a base runner on base, and we were down by 1 point. We were down by a point. So we needed a run to tie or 2 runs to take the lead. Stone Lawless hits a baseball off his bat. Your boy's watching his bedroom. I'm thinking about considering taking a little Sunday afternoon nap. I'm watching the game on my phone. Okay. Stone Lawless hits this baseball off his bat. I literally got up and ran into the living room. I told God, oh, are you still watching the game? Turn the game on. We just took the lead. And then I hear, he caught it. He caught what? The baseball? The baseball sounded like it was hit into orbit. I don't know what he caught. And sure enough, this dude from Georgia makes the play of the year. Literally, I guarantee that dude has never jumped that high in his life, Blake, here on earth, and made literally the play of the year to save the series. I mean, this is a rubber match. Like, winner takes the series. Now, of course, we'd still have to play defense for another inning. But listen, I mean, you take 1-run lead and the inning's not even over. Maybe you get another insurance run, whatever. You're feeling pretty good about that. Unfortunately, Georgia literally made the play of the year and won that game by a single point. Heartbreaking way to lose that series, dude.
Yeah, definitely a heartbreaker. And man, again, that's a good baseball team. And so it would have been great for our resume, would have been great for some momentum. But sometimes in sports, as in life, brother, the ball just doesn't bounce your way.
Yep.
And so heartbreaker there. And then Austin, we followed that up with a pretty rough loss to Missouri. Talk us through that.
Yes.
Before we did even the series yesterday.
We did.
And so absolutely, great to see that. Great to see us even the series. But talk us through kind of this Missouri series so far.
Yeah, I mean, Tegan Coons got off to a terrible start and on Friday. I think he gave up 3 runs in the first inning or first couple innings. It wasn't good, man. It really wasn't good, and honestly, it was looking like much of the same in game 2. I thought we were going to have the same issues in game 2. And with Landon Mack on the mound, he gave up 2 runs in the second inning yesterday. Now, thankfully, we came back and held it. Overall, the defense has been, I think, better this year. I think the pitching, like we don't, and I've said this all year, we don't have like an elite guy, but we have a bunch of really solid dudes. And that has worked. Unfortunately, game 1 it didn't. But with that being said, where the defense has maybe overall improved, the bats have gotten significantly less consistent. Outside of Henry Ford, that guy's absolutely been awesome. I mean, you probably remember us covering his transfer commitment during last offseason in baseball, Blake. And that
Yeah.
was a massive pickup, and he's kind of lived up to the billing. So yeah, I mean, they played better yesterday. Took that game, and then the pitching got under control after the second inning, which was much needed, because again it was looking like it was going to be rough. We got 4 innings out of Cam Appenzeller the other day. He's a true freshman, by the way, Blake, a reliever.
True freshman,
He's
left-handed pitcher. Yeah.
Dude, he's
Looking
been
good.
nasty. I was literally. It's funny because obviously I mean, I religiously follow the baseball team, so I've been watching almost every game. And I learned Appenzeller that way. I'm like, dang, this guy's nice. Just the other day, I was watching a podcast. Tony Vitello, man, I can't stop watching Tony Vitello, and it was something about him leaving or whatever. And he was on a Tennessee podcast, and they asked him, "Hey, who's a couple guys we have to look out for this year?" And he brought up Cam Appenzeller, dude. Sure enough, true freshman pitcher. So very excited about him. He'll be here for at least 2 more years, if I'm not mistaken. So very excited about that. And he came in, and I mean, dude, 4 innings, no runs. Are you kidding me? That's insane. And we needed it, dude. We needed it because after that heartbreaking Georgia series, man, and then we lose game 1 in Missouri's, I'm not gonna lie, your boy was not feeling good about baseball. I was
Yeah.
not. I was
Yeah.
not feeling good about baseball. Like, because this is at home, and Missouri is like a good team. They're a good team, but they're not like Georgia level. And
No.
we need to be taking care of this kind of competition, especially with the expectations of this team and the talent on this team. So really happy to even it up. Need a big game today, Blake. Game's about to start soon.
Yes.
Need a big outing today from Evan Blanco.
Yes. Shout out to Matt in the chat and everyone. Again, we're planning on handing you guys off right over to the baseball game that is about to start as we speak. So figured this would be a great segue for you folks. Vol Talk will end on baseball as we hand you off over to the baseball game. So, but yeah, man, Appenzeller looking great. Shout out to Matt in the chat talking about Appenzeller looking absolutely amazing last night. And so no doubt about that. And yeah, you love to see, kind of the pitching get back under control. And so today, as you said, Austin, we got to win this rubber match against Missouri, get a little bit of momentum going here on this team. Matt also shouting out in the chat, Stone Lawless and Manny. And so, yeah, gotta love those guys, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, dude, Stone was robbed, man. That was such a clutch moment. Like,
He
that's
was.
one of those things where it's like, dude, like, just give him the home run on the record, man. It should have been a home run. But like, he spiked the bat after it came off. Like, he spiked it not in his frustration. He thought it was gone, boy. He thought he just had the moment of the year. It was stolen from him, man. You give the guy credit for making that play. Very unfortunate though. I was pissed, dude. I'll be honest with you. I was not happy. I was not happy. But yeah, I mean, a couple good shots there. Manny Marin too. Manny Marin has been a difference maker since coming back into the lineup early in the year. A couple guys have. Blake Grimmer as well. They put him in the cleanup spot yesterday. Interesting. We'll see, man. We'll see.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to win today, but I'm optimistic.
And Austin, you shouted out at the top of the show the softball, the Lady Vols softball.
Yeah,
they also play today, brother. They are playing today, and they're playing none other than the Gators.
Ooh,
as
okay.
Matt just mentioned in the chat there. So we've got 3 teams on the docket today, Austin. We've got Lady Vols softball, got to beat Florida. We've got the baseball team, got to beat Missouri, and then of course the basketball team looking to make it to the Sweet 16 and beat Virginia. And the softball team, Austin, we have started to touch on them a little bit because you have to, brother. You have to.
When they're that good, you got to.
When they're that good, they've only got 2 losses so far. Of course, unfortunately we did drop one to Florida yesterday. We've got a rubber match against.
It's a big game.
It's a rubber match to win the series today against Florida. So, and that's number 5 Florida, by the way. Number 5 in the country. Now, of course, Lady Vols softball is number 1 in the country. But unless we drop to number 2, maybe I'm lying through my teeth here, but I think we're still number 1.
No, we should be number 1 for sure. We should definitely still be number 1.
Should still be number 1. So love to see all the winning from the Lady Vols softball team, Austin. We will hope that they beat the Gators. We've got the baseball Volunteers beating Missouri today, hopefully in that rubber match. And then, of course, we've got the basketball Vols playing Virginia tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern as well. So a jam-packed day of volunteer sports, Austin. And folks, what better way to start that day of volunteer sports than right here with the Vol Talk podcast. We appreciate you guys joining us today. Austin, it's been a fun show. It's been a jam-packed show. And it's been good to be back, brother. I missed talking Vol sports with you and talking Vol sports with all of our listeners. So glad to be back. Folks, we will be back with regular live shows on Sundays around this time, 11:30 to 12 p.m. Eastern.
11:30-ish.
11:30-ish on Sundays. So be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications if you haven't already. Follow us on Spotify as well. We drop these live shows on Spotify the following day on Mondays, so you can listen to us yap about your favorite Vols or your favorite sports team, the Vols, as you commute to and from work. So we would appreciate that. And again, we thank you all for joining us today. Leave a like on the video. And if you're watching after the fact, leave us a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are on all of these things that we have discussed today. But Austin, man, it's been a fun show. I'm going to shout out as we end here, Chris White in the chat. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Matt. Shout out to Lynn jumping in the chat here at the end. Lynn, you missed our football conversation just a few minutes ago, so you can rewind the video and check out the football conversation as well. But Austin, it's been a fun show, brother. We will catch the good folks next weekend, next Sunday at this time. Until then, baby, as always, go freaking Vols.
GBO.